The rain beat a relentless, rhythmic tattoo against the rusted hull of the transport boat as it cut through the churning waters surrounding Isla Scorpia. Emerging from the thick fog, the island appeared less like a paradise and more like a jagged, black tooth rising from the ocean depths. On board, Lana Hills stood at the bow, her leather jacket glistening with moisture, her eyes fixed on the looming landmass. As an elite operative sent by InGen, Lana's primary mission was supposed to be a straightforward sweep, clear out the local fauna so her corporate superiors could construct a brand new theme park populated by a fresh generation of hybrid dinosaurs. But as the boat scraped against the abandoned pier, the eerie silence hanging over the jungle suggested that nothing about this assignment would be simple. Beside her stood Corey Shakur, her trusted partner, and a man whose steady presence had saved her life on more than one continent. Behind them, securing their equipment, was Bill Haddad, an experienced animal trainer whose scarred hands spoke volumes about a lifetime spent managing apex predators. Rounding out the team was Jack Randalls, a charismatic archaeologist with a vast knowledge of ancient ruins, who had volunteered his expertise to guide them through the island's treacherous interior. On the surface, Jack was the picture of a dedicated scholar and ally, but beneath his charming exterior lay a treacherous double life. Unknown to the rest of the crew, Jack was secretly an operative for Biosyn, InGen's fiercest rival. His true goal was to harvest the terrifying organisms infesting the island, so Biosyn could engineer living biological weapons to sell to the United States military in unbreakable glass tanks. As the team stepped onto the muddy shore, Bill checked his gear, his expression grim. Isla Scorpia was not supposed to be empty of prehistoric life, yet there were no roars echoing through the canopy, no giant footsteps shaking the earth. The reason for this haunting quiet was a dark history that the island held close to its chest. Years prior, the entire dinosaur population had been brutally wiped off the map. It had not been a meteor, a disease, or a volcanic eruption that brought down the titans of the past, but a massive, relentless army of intelligent, giant spiders. Deep within the island, hidden in the shadows of the ancient canopy, lived the last surviving dinosaur on Isla Scorpia. Her name was Alice, a young female raptor and the rightful princess of a fallen reptilian line. Alice was a small, extraordinarily naughty creature, prone to slipping through tight spaces and causing mischief. But her playful nature was merely a shield for deep trauma. As a hatchling, Alice had cowered beneath a hollow log and witnessed the horrifying demise of her entire species, watching in absolute terror as a tide of arachnids overwhelmed even the largest carnivores. Now she was alone, frightened and hunted, hiding in the dark corners of a land that no longer belonged to her kind. The team pushed through the dense jungle, the humidity hanging heavy in the air. Bill led the way, tracking strange, clawed footprints mixed with unnerving, dragged lines in the dirt. It wasn't long before they caught their first glimpse of Alice. The small raptor was watching them from behind a cluster of giant ferns, her golden eyes wide with suspicion and fear. Bill stepped forward slowly, using soft, rhythmic clicks to communicate, but Alice let out a sharp, timid screech and darted away into the brush. Lana watched her go, a sudden fierce sense of protectiveness taking root in her chest. She realized then that this mission wasn't just about clearing an island for corporate greed. It was about saving this traumatized orphan from the horrors lurking in the dark. The island's dark hierarchy was controlled by a grotesque army of arachnids, ruled with absolute tyranny from the peaks to the hollows. The primary mastermind of this army was the Orb Weaver, an absolute monster of nature, often referred to by the few humans who survived encounters as the Yellow Devil. Enormous, brilliantly colored, and terrifyingly intelligent, the Yellow Devil was a tactical genius who harbored a burning hatred for humanity. It viewed all other creatures, including its own spider subjects, as mere pawns in a grand, twisted vision. The Orb Weaver operated on a brutal philosophy, regularly sacrificing weaker or damaged spiders to the stronger, more willing soldiers as a casual midday snack to keep the army sharp. Its ultimate goal extended far beyond Isla Scorpia. It intended to slaughter every human intruder, build an unstoppable colony, and unleash its next generation of Jurassic-era spider babies across the globe, erasing humanity until there was no one left to breathe the air. As the heroes ventured deeper toward the island's interior, they were ambushed by the commander of the army's ground forces, a massive Brazilian wandering spider. Acting as the general and right-hand henchman to the Yellow Devil, this tactical beast commanded a platoon of aggressive soldier spiders. The general coordinated his forces with eerie precision, attempting to circle the team and trap them in a wall of sticky, thick silk. Guns roared in the jungle as Corey and Lana fought off the surrounding horde. The Brazilian wandering spider lunged from the canopy with incredible speed, its fangs dripping with venom. But Bill managed to throw a flare, dazzling the creature's multiple eyes and forcing the general to retreat into the shadows, chattering in rage. Seeking temporary shelter from the relentless arachnid patrols and heavy rain, the team navigated toward an old, abandoned estate nestled on a ridge, a place the locals had once dubbed the Haunted House. What the team did not know was that this crumbling structure was the exclusive domain of the Black Widow, the secondary antagonist of the Spider Army. The Black Widow was a silent, lethal nightmare who never left the confines of her territory. She used the house as a dark hunting ground, luring unsuspecting archaeologists, researchers, and lost explorers into her lair before snapping their heads cleanly off their necks. She would greedily devour their remains and drink their blood, collecting their polished skulls in the dark corners of the parlor as morbid trophies of her reign. As Jack guided the group into the foyer under the pretense of finding historical naps, he subtly split off, attempting to search for spider egg sacs to secure for his biosyn handlers. The air inside the house smelled of rot and dried blood, thick with oppressive silence. The moment the heavy oak doors swung shut behind them, the atmosphere shifted. High above, in the rafters, the Black Widow began her relentless stalk. She moved without making a sound, a gleaming black phantom gliding across thick curtains of web, her glowing red hourglass marking, casting an unnatural crimson glare through the shadows. A cold breeze swept through the corridor, carrying the soft, rhythmic clicking of 8 armored legs crawling along the wallpaper. Corey raised his flashlight, the beam illuminating a terrifying hallway lined with the pristine white skulls of past human meals, stacked like morbid artwork against the rotting wood. Suddenly, the temperature seemed to drop. The Black Widow dropped from the darkness above, landing quietly on a chandelier right behind Jack, her massive form blocking out the dim light. She crept down the walls, stalking the group like a ghost through the ruined rooms, her multiple black eyes reflecting their panic in the dark. Every time Lana turned her flashlight toward a sound, the shadow was already gone, leaving only the sickening echo of fangs scraping together. Cornering the heroes in the cavernous, bone-littered parlor, the Black Widow finally ended her game of cat and mouse. With a horrifying screech that echoed through the empty mansion, she pounced from the ceiling, her razor-sharp pedipalps swinging. She slammed into Bill, throwing him across the room into a pile of shattered antique furniture. Corey fired his rifle, the heavy rounds bouncing off her thick, glossy black carapace as she scuttled up the walls with dizzying speed, dropping down on top of him. Lana lunged forward, drawing her heavy combat knife and driving it into one of the creature's jointed legs. The widow hissed in fury, whipping her heavy abdomen around to spray thick, acidic silk that pinned Corey to the floor. As the spider lowered her head, her massive mandibles opening wide with the intent to snap Corey's neck off his shoulders, Lana leaped onto the beast's back. Grappling the nightmare creature, Lana drove her knife deep into the monster's main cluster of eyes. The Black Widow thrashed violently, smashing Lana against the wooden pillars of the grand staircase. But Lana held on with desperate strength. Corey, tearing himself free from the webs, grabbed a fallen heavy iron poker from the fireplace. With a roar, Corey drove the jagged iron rod straight up through the creature's soft underbelly. The Black Widow let out a wet, gurgling shriek. Lana wrapped her arms around the creature's head and gave a violent, vengeful twist, snapping the nightmare spider's neck with a sickening crunch. Thick, dark hemolymph erupted from the wound, coating the floorboards and the surrounding skulls of her former victims. The massive body twitched violently, its long, hairy legs curling inward in a gruesome death spasm before collapsing into a motionless heap in the middle of her gruesome trophy room. Breathing heavily and covered in the secondary antagonist's dark blood, the breathless team backed out of the haunted house, leaving the Queen of Shadows permanently destroyed amidst her grim museum. Returning to the jungle trail, the group pressed on toward the volcanic mountains, where the heart of the spider civilization lay. Their path was blocked by a dark, damp cavern system that was guarded by the fourth terror of the island, the Goliath bird-eater tarantula. This giant beast was a creature of sheer, unbridled gluttony. It had no living henchman left under its command, because in its relentless hunger, it had eaten every single one of the lower-ranking spiders assigned to assist it. The Goliath had been posted inside the cave by the Yellow Devil to crush anyone trying to pass through. But it was bound by a strict behavioral quirk. It would relentlessly hunt inside its cavern, but refused to ever step foot outside into the bright open air. Lana devised a plan to clean out the cavern guardian. Recognizing the beast's primitive reliance on vibrations and smell, the team located the fresh carcass of a wild mouse in the brush. Entering the pitch-black cave, Corey expertly tossed the dead rodent deep into the passage. The massive Goliath bird-eater surged forward out of the gloom, its colossal hairy legs thundering against the stone as it chased the easy meal. The team sprinted ahead toward the exit, with the giant tarantula charging furiously right behind them. As they burst out into the blinding sunlight on the other side of the tunnel, the Goliath, blinded by the sudden, intense rays of light breaking through the cavern mouth, lost its sensory direction completely. Overwhelmed by total blindness and sheer sensory shock, the creature thrashed violently against the jagged rocks, mortally wounding itself in its disoriented panic and tumbling into the deep chasm below. With the cavern cleared, the group pushed higher up the slopes of the active volcano where the Yellow Devil made its throne. Along the way, the mischievous young raptor Alice continued to trail them. Slowly, Lana's patience and gentle demeanor began to break through the little dinosaur's deep-seated trauma. When Lana offered her a piece of dried meat, Alice tentatively crept forward, her golden eyes locking onto Lana's. For the first time since the massacre of her pack, the little raptor allowed a human to touch her, resting her scaly snout against Lana's hand. Lana swore in that moment that no matter what InGen wanted, she would protect this child raptor with her life. That night, as the team set up a brief camp near the base of the volcanic peak, the Brazilian wandering spider attacked a second time. Fueled by vengeance, the general led a desperate charge, leaping from the high rock faces straight at Corey. But Lana was ready. Drawing her combat blade, she met the leaping general in midair with lethal precision, driving her steel through the creature's primary nervous center. The Brazilian wandering spider collapsed into the dust, twitching violently before going still forever. The general was dead, but the victory was short-lived. In the dead of night, while the rest of the camp slept, Jack Randall slipped away to meet secretly with a scout drone sent by Biosyn. But as he prepared to transmit the coordinates of the spider breeding grounds, a shadow fell over him. The yellow devil itself had descended from the peak. The Orb Weaver cared nothing for human politics or Biosyn's corporate schemes. It saw only a trespasser. When Lana and the others awoke to a strange noise and rushed to investigate, they found Jack's lifeless corpse sprawled across the red dirt, blood streaming from his nose and chest where the giant spider had crushed him without a second thought. Jack's double crossing had met an abrupt and brutal end. Driven by rage and desperation, the Yellow Devil retreated to the edge of the volcanic crater, summoning the entire remainder of its massive spider army. As Lana, Corey, Bill, and Alice pursued the beast to the glowing lip of the volcano, they witnessed an act of unimaginable cruelty. The Yellow Devil, realizing its army was failing to stop the intruders and seeking to consolidate its own monstrous power, turned on its own subjects. Using its colossal armored legs and sheer brute force, the tyrannical Orb Weaver pushed hundreds of its own loyal spider soldiers off the edge, screaming as they tumbled into the fiery pit of doom below. With its army sacrificed, the ultimate showdown began on the narrow, scorching ridges of the active crater. The Yellow Devil lunged with terrifying speed, its enormous yellow-patterned body blocking out the light of the glowing magma. Bill tried to flank the beast, but was knocked aside by a sweep of its heavy limbs. In a desperate attempt to protect Lana, Corey charged forward with a spear, but the Yellow Devil was too fast. With a swift, cruel strike, the spider's venomous fang grazed Corey's shoulder, injecting a lethal dose of toxin into his bloodstream. Corey collapsed to his knees, pale and struggling for breath, but he held his ground long enough to buy Lana an opening. Seeing Corey down, the Yellow Devil turned its furious gaze toward Lana, lunging to deliver a final, fatal bite. But before the monster could reach her, little Alice proved her loyalty. Overcoming the trauma that had haunted her since childhood, the young raptor leaped courageously onto the Orb Weaver's back, biting and tearing at its sensitive joints. The Yellow Devil thrashed in blind fury, throwing the young raptor against the stone wall. Alice let out a pained screech, but her distraction gave Lana the exact moment she needed. Lana picked up an ancient steel sword from the volcanic rubble, a relic left behind by an ill-fated explorer of the past. With a fierce warrior's cry, she charged the giant arachnid. As the Yellow Devil turned back to face her, Lana thrust the sword upward with all her strength, plunging the blade deep into the center of the spider's chest. The monster let out a sickening, high-pitched screech of shock and agony. With adrenaline surging through her veins, Lana used the lever of the sword to lift the colossal, upside-down body of the yellow devil off the ground, carrying it furiously on the edge of the blade toward the cliff's edge. Standing at the brink of the fiery abyss, Lana looked into the terrifying, multi-eyed face of the yellow devil one last time. With a final heave of pure rage, she hurled the sword and the thrashing, upside-down spider together over the edge. The tyrannical leader struggled uselessly in midair, its legs clawing at empty space as it plummeted into the roaring, molten pit of doom and hell, consumed instantly by the fires of the earth. The spider army was destroyed, and the terror of Isla Scorpia was over, but the victory came with a heartbreaking price. Lana rushed to Corey's side, cradling his head in her lap. The venom of the yellow devil had spread rapidly through his system. Corey looked up at Lana, forcing a small, proud smile despite the pain, knowing that they had saved the island and stopped the arachnid plague from reaching the world. Minutes after the downfall of the monster, Corey drew his final breath and passed away peacefully in her arms, leaving Lana as the sole remaining hero standing atop the quiet volcano. When the InGen recovery helicopters finally arrived days later, expecting to find a cleared island ready for construction, Lana refused to let them turn Isla Scorpia into another corporate playground. Using the power of her position and her absolute resolve, she declared the island a completely restricted, off-limits sanctuary. She sent the corporate executives away, severing her ties with the company for good. Instead of returning to civilization, Lana chose to stay behind on Isla Scorpia. Using the timber and stone scattered near the coastal beaches, she built a sturdy, quiet house overlooking the ocean. There, far away from the greed of man and the shadows of the past, Lana became the official protector of Alice, the young raptor princess. Together, the two survivors healed from their wounds, wandering the lush green jungles of an island that was finally at peace, living happily side by side as mother and daughter in a wild, majestic world of their own.